Okay, next we're going to draw out these shapes: a circle, a square, and a triangle. We're turning these two-dimensional shapes into three-dimensional forms. So we're not making a triangle, we're making a cone. The difference is there's a flat edge at the bottom of the triangle, and there's a curved edge at the bottom of the cone, just like a party hat or an ice cream cone flipped upside down. Right? Pretty standard. So I'm going to start making this cone. I'm going to do the same thing I did last time. I'm going to make one edge a lot darker than the other. The highlight is going to be coming in from that right side. And then I'm using a 7B, so I'm using a darker pencil. The lead is softer, so it looks darker when I'm pressing pretty lightly. If I were using an H, it would, I'd have to press pretty hard to get anything dark. I'm not even pressing that hard with this B grade pencil. And I'm shading the bottom part of this cone. I'm kind of trying to replicate the shape of that little curve at the bottom with the shadow that I'm making. And up here in the top portion and middle portion, it's a little bit more of a straight line. I'm going to show you what I mean, how it tapers from dark to light, or how it fades. So it fades in the shape that it's going. So it's really dark on this side, and then it's really skinny at the top, and it gets wider toward the bottom. So the darkness is wide, the shadow is widening at the bottom, and it's skinny at the top. That's what gives it the illusion of having the shape of a cone. This is my 2H. Sorry, it's blurry. So I'm using a much lighter pencil to fill in the other side, because that's where you're getting closer to the highlight. Right? So the shadow side is the dark side, and the highlight side is the light side. So creating this illusion of a shadow and a light source or a highlight is what gives things the impression or the illusion that there is a shape that's becoming a three-dimensional form. So it's supposed to look like it would exist in real life, in a real-time space, not on a flat piece of paper. And that's an illusion that's going to help you in all of your drawings when you kind of can perfect this highlight versus shadow shape creation. So there you go. Basics of getting that highlight. You can use some tools to blend, and it's a little bit blurry so you guys can't quite tell, but hopefully this is clear. I'm using a blending stump to blend those dark values of the pencil together. If you could see it in person, you'd see that all the lines are really scratchy, and you'll probably see that on your own paper. And to make things less scratchy, you can do a blending stump, or like I'm about to use, this is a chamois. It's just like a type of cloth that you can use to blend graphite and charcoal. It's really messy if you use charcoal. If you don't have any of that, oh, you have a finger, and your finger does the same thing. Not quite as well, but it works if you're in a pinch, or if you're like someone who draws when you're traveling on the road or whatever. This works well. Then I go back in and I erase that outline so it looks more realistic. And I can use the eraser to really bring out the highlight side. Yeah, and that's your basic shape of a cone. Okay, so next we're working on the sphere. so I've created these lines. I'm just going to bring it over here onto this circle so it's a little more obvious, more pronounced. These are lines called meridians. This one is just to show the bulbous shape of a circle. Think of it almost like an orange. Like when you peel an orange, you see these little segments that give it the curved shape. Or if you're looking at a globe, you'll see these latitudinal and longitudinal lines. These are meridians. It separates the orb, the sphere, into these little parts. And that can be a helpful guide for your eyes if you're not used to drawing a sphere. And again, if you're already used to drawing a sphere or cones, you know how, so go ahead and you can skip this little tutorial. You can just mute us and look at it on your own if you need to in the announcements. But right now, if you're following along, what I'm doing is I'm just making circles. I'm just following the curvature, the curved edges, the curved shape of this sphere, of this circle. And I'm making lighter lines as it's closer to the highlight and darker lines as it's further away from the highlight, because you have that dark shadow edge and then you have the side of the sphere that has the light source hitting it. And I'm following the curvature. On our last one, we kind of did like a gradient where the circle just was filled in. This time I want you to follow the line of sight that you see on a sphere. Think of it almost like drawing a crescent moon. Like you have the whole moon and then you have the, like, you know, the crescent part of it is, the whole moon is still there, but there's just a little sliver of it that's showing. So that it's like a reverse crescent moon, if that helps to think about it. And right now I'm just blending it with my blending stump so I can get that all those scratchy lines to blend in with each other. And I'm going to do the same thing over here, but you won't see those meridian lines quite as strongly. Notice I'm not putting the highlight on the edge. It doesn't really work that way unless your light source is like very pronounced on that side of the sphere. This is kind of a more natural effect. It's hitting kind of not the middle, but the far right 1/3 or 1/4 of that spherical shape that I'm creating. If you were looking at an orange or a ball, that would be very helpful too. I think it's pretty simple to draw a sphere from your imagination when you follow along with these kinds of tutorials. So yeah, just making that, again, that crescent moon shape of darkness so that I can follow along with the curvature of the shape. And I'm using a dark pencil here. I'm using the B grade. If you aren't quite comfortable with switching up how hard you're pressing and you want to switch up pencils instead, go right ahead. Use that B grade for the dark side of your sphere, your dark side of the moon, and use the 2H or whatever H you have to do the lighter parts of your sphere. So I hope you can see in this tutorial the difference between the lightest light and the darkest dark. And blending it is going to help kind of smooth that out. So you can see using my finger, it's not working quite as well as using either the blending stump or the chamois. I'm going to go ahead and use that blending stump. And I'm just, pressing pretty hard. Can't really mess it up. If you get it, super blurry in your highlight, you can go in and erase it. You can erase it to get that bright highlight effect. And there you go, that's a sphere. And then to do the square into a cube, I want you to skip to the next tutorial, which is all about making cubes using a vanishing point and 1-point perspective. So skip to that next tutorial.